The 2011 film Doraemon, Nobita and the New Steel Troops concludes with an emotional payload so heavy it routinely leaves its audience completely wrecked. The story begins with a classic childhood fantasy. Nobita and Doraemon stumble upon the scattered metal pieces of a giant robot, drag the components home, and spend an afternoon clicking them together. This assembly sequence is built around a sense of complete safety. The kids treat a towering mechanical titan like an oversized set of building blocks, operating in a world that feels entirely consequence-free. That sense of security is a deliberate setup. The film's psychological weight relies on establishing this comfortable playground environment, specifically so the floor can be dropped out from underneath the viewer later. The massive robot the boys painstakingly assembled is actually a fully operational weapon of mass destruction. It is not a solitary relic. The machine is the vanguard unit for a heavily armed extraterrestrial force currently en route to invade Earth. The illusion of a game evaporates instantly. Nobita and his friends realize that a deadly war has arrived at their doorstep, and the realization begins to take an immediate psychological toll on the group. This diagram shows the tactical disparity of the conflict. A single dot represents Earth's defense, a small group of children, suddenly surrounded by an exponentially multiplying wave of hostile forces pouring in from the perimeter. This escalation yanks the protagonists out of their childhood sandbox and drops them into an active combat zone, forcing them to carry the burden of defending the entire planet. A direct counterattack is complicated by the nature of the invaders, who are not the faceless, mindless drones the children expected. The invasion is spearheaded by operatives named Riru and Pippo. While they are part of the mechanized army, they appear fearful and conflicted, displaying vulnerabilities that the children recognize as deeply human. Through a series of captures and rescues, Nobita's group and these enemy scouts are forced into close quarters, requiring them to interact on a personal, intimate level. Sharing meals and treating injuries leads to moments of genuine humor. These small, touching interactions systematically dismantle the psychological barriers between the children and their intended conquerors. The true conflict of the film shifts from physical combat to a terrifying emotional realization. The children are befriending the exact individuals sent to exterminate them. When the moment finally arrives to strike back, Nobita and his friends hesitate. They are paralyzed by the weight of their new empathy, unable to pull the trigger on people they now consider friends. This paralysis is mirrored on the other side. Riru and Pippo experience a profound, helpless inability to complete their mission, pushed to tears by the kindness they have received from their enemies. Caught in a psychological trap, this represents the tension between the heavy weight of planetary duty and the node of empathy. The pressure physically bends the beam. Eventually, the tension snaps. Both sides reach an emotional breaking point as their unbearable reality collapses. The horror of the war reaches its peak here. To ensure their own survival, these children are forced to confront the traumatic necessity of slaughtering the very friends they just made. The full-scale invasion arrives, and a monolithic shadow advances across the landscape, suffocating the light as the enemy armada fills the sky. The film abandons its family-friendly origins to show a brutal, realistic depiction of combat, where survival is never guaranteed. Under the pressure of a relentless assault, the children are forced into impossible choices, sacrificing their safety and their surroundings just to endure the next wave. By refusing to sanitize the physical and emotional cost of the defense, the story subverts the standard tropes of children's media. The invasion is not resolved through tactical brilliance or explosive action alone. Peace is only achieved through the devastating sacrifice of the invaders, who choose to perish to stop their own kind. These sacrifices are the direct result of the bonds forged with Nobita and Doraemon during the quietest moments of the war. The narrative depicts the inescapable tragedies of conflict, showing how the friendship between the children and their captors ultimately neutralize the threat more effectively than any weapon. Many viewers consider this film the pinnacle of the franchise, as it demonstrates that true heroism isn't found in a giant robot's firepower, but in the heart-wrenching empathy that bridges the gap between enemies.